Yeah, this is happening. Super Mario Maker is an even better piece of software than I thought it would be. Polished like it's been in development for a decade, deep to a frightening degree, it is the best piece of game-making software that I've ever seen made available to mainstream consumers. I'm having fun just messing around with it, but I can't wait to see what kind of stuff comes out of the minds of really dedicated users, especially the especially young and especially creative.
Yeah, I know that a lot of people are big into the hardcore, insane, difficult, precision platformer type stuff that's already dominated the unlicensed Mario fan game scene for years, but no thanks, not really my scene. I'm more interested in seeing what budding young would-be game designers who are looking to make not just challenging levels, but clever and aesthetically creative ones come up with. If Mario Maker is a hit, a whole shitload of the next generation of visionary game designers are going to have really similar origin stories. Hell, if Nintendo wants some killer free publicity and to do this industry and a world of good, they should give Wii U's copies of this game and a curriculum guide to schools to set up beginners game design courses as part of their arts and technology requirement.
Now that is a reason to show up at school.
One thing is for certain, if this is a hit, it's probably going to generate copycats. The idea of breaking the creator tools you already made down into simplified versions and releasing a Maker spin-off for your own franchise will be just too obviously tempting for game developers, especially retro Golden Age mainstays that'd be easier to break down and whose developers haven't exactly been busy lately. And me, I think that's a great prospect. Let's have Everybody Gets a Maker game be the 2015 version of Everybody Gets a Kart Racer. So I've compiled a list of 10 games and game franchises whose Mario Maker clone should be in development, like, now.
So let's do it. Number 10, The Legend of Zelda.
Best to get the most obvious one out of the way first, right? If you do one for Mario and you want to do a follow-up, this is probably where you go. It's the number 2 Nintendo Legacy franchise, its design is heavily grid-based, it's complex and aesthetically self-explanatory, and it's in a completely different genre than Mario, so it's a new experience. Plus, since by its very nature, even the original NES Zelda featured text and conditional events, it allows for the potential for players to create their own narrative along with the gameplay, something Mario Maker does not.
Number 9, Metroid.
No, it's not just going to be a list of Nintendo games, but let's face it, after the platformer and the action RPG, the exploration platformer is the next logical place to go with this. Also, since Metroid maps tend to be massive and the fanbase seems to skew older, maybe this could be the hypothetical Maker title that could allow or facilitate shared group designs online. That's something I'd like to see.
Number 8, Sonic the Hedgehog.
Here's the thing, for all the fun we have mocking the awful fan art, awful fan fiction, and awful everything else Sonic the Hedgehog fandom has done and continues to do to the fallen from grace 90s mascot, the sheer volume of this stuff makes one thing crystal clear. Nobody at Sega seems to really care about Sonic, and the fan base is where all the passion for this franchise exists, so you might as well let them take the wheel and construct the actual games. Plus, Sonic has a different vibe and structure than a lot of other platformers, so that's more variety right there.
Number 7, Dragon Quest.
Yes, RPG Maker already exists and has a cult following, but the same idea using Dragon Quest's iconic set of terrains and characters as the toolbox would probably be a more mainstream draw. In either case, a Maker title like this feels essential for players who want to explore the narrative storytelling side of games, and unlike the increasingly bonkers Final Fantasy series, Dragon Quest gameplay has stuck largely to the basics over the years, including staying married to Akira Toriyama's iconic art designs.
Metal slimes. Metal slimes as far as the eye can see. Number 6, Super Mario Bros. 2.
Is this one cheating? I don't care. As deep as Mario Maker's toolset is, even with all the pieces unlocked, I've already found myself chafing ever so slightly at the limitations that do exist. Outside of the obvious everything is made of Mario stuff part, of course. Short version, if there's to be DLC for Mario Maker, then a pack of building tools for Super Mario Bros. 2 should be the first thing on the list. It'd have to be a different sort of thing than what's in the game already, granted, since Mario 2 is the one with the radically different gameplay happening, which means switching overlays to it would make a lot of levels unplayable and vice versa, but that's not too different from not being able to use the Leaf outside of Mario 3 style courses as far as I'm concerned. Plus, being able to change up control schemes would be a fun challenge. Mainly though, the fact is Mario 2 has a plethora of unique enemies and terrains that could help people make even more elaborate creations. I mean, Triclyde, man, Mauser, Fry Guy, Pidgeot, the Shy Guys, vegetable picking, fucking Wart back in the picture. At last, this is necessary.
Sidebar, seriously Nintendo, even outside of this capacity, the return of Wart to the Mario franchise would be the biggest nostalgia pop you've gotten since the return of the Tanuki suit. Make it happen. Number 5, Castlevania.
Okay, obvious question. Why a Castlevania maker if there's already a hypothetical Metroid maker? Well, aesthetics. Maybe you're keen to play with open-world platforming, but your comfort zone lies more in gothic horror. Plus, Castlevania as a series has had so many iterations on the same basic setup over the years that there's a ton of easily interchangeable parts from decades of different games for you to play with.
Number 4. Lego.
Why? Well, thus far all these theoretical makers have been 2D, because designing in 3D at an amateur level really is difficult and easy to get lost in when it comes to making different shapes and sizes of objects, and making them all fit together. But Lego is all about pieces being pre-designed to fit together in what amounts to a 3-dimensional grid, so this is exactly the property to use for introducing players to building a 3D game world without much frustration.
Number 3. Contra.
Shooters are fun as hell, and seeing what the super hard precision difficult cats would do with this genre would actually be quite a thing to see. Plus, it's fucking Contra. Contra rules.
But if you're not feeling Contra for whatever reason, I guess Metal Slug would work just as well in this spot, and also probably has a deeper bench of visual content. Number 2, Mega Man. I kind of feel like this one is super obvious. Like, I think the only explanation I can give for this one is duh. I mean, it's a classic franchise, it's immortal, it has a very similar visual aesthetic across the original 6 games, it's grid-based, it's similar to Mario, there's a lot to play with that's deeper than it looks. I guess the only question would be whether or not they also let you build your own robot masters, and to which I can only also respond, duh. And number 1, an expert mode. Yeah.
The existence of all this hypothetical theorizing is based on the hope idea that Mario Maker becomes a big enough phenomenon that game creator and/or extreme modder tools become a standard part of console gaming. And if it does, the audience is going to demand the next level. Let's get real. For a lot of people who get it, Mario Maker is going to be exactly enough of what it is. They'll have fun just making crazy cool Mario levels, playing with the blocks, having a good time, that'll be that. But there's a significant base of players, particularly I think especially creative younger players, that are going to get so deep into it that eventually they're going to exhaust the resources in terms of what the game can provide for their creative expression. I'm talking players who've always wanted to be game designers and the ones who didn't know it until someone put Mario Maker in their hands. They're going to want more. Design their own terrain, redraw the sprites, rewrite the music, play with the physics and the gameplay settings. And where are they going to get the ability to do that?
Open source products like Game Maker, while impressive, are not user-friendly enough for the average consumer. I'm sorry, it's true. And there aren't really that many other Maker titles, that's the point of the video, so where is all that creative energy going to go?
Therefore, it'd be a major cultural good, but also a long-term health of the medium business good for, say, Nintendo, to produce an expert-level addition to Mario Maker, either as DLC or a separate title that'd allow for much deeper rewriting of the tools within the engine. And then we'll see what the Mario Maker generation of rising designers can really pull off. Yes, there'd be some challenges in working out how fair use and ownership work once players are effectively creating things that could very well be 80 to 90% original work in some respects, but that's what legal teams are for, and it shouldn't prevent this from coming to pass.
Bottom line, imagine a world where the mere fact of owning a game console made discovering a love of game design as easy as owning pencils and crayons made discovering a love of drawing. Imagine what kind of world that could be.